I'm Euell Gibbons. I've spent years learning about natural foods. Ever eat a pine tree? Many parts are edible.
That was how Euell Gibbons started his commercial for grape nuts back in the 70s. Today's recipe doesn't have any pine. It doesn't even have grapes or nuts. It doesn't have any Mayberries either. What this recipe does have is a hot, nutritious breakfast. Lots of vitamins and minerals to get you started for the outdoors. Hang around and I'll show you how to use your mess kit to make this delicious hot breakfast. And maybe even share some information about Mayberry, Cape berries, and even Old Euell. These are the ingredients you're going to need for your hot grape nuts breakfast with Cranberry-Orange. First ingredient is grape nuts, or a similar type cereal. These are by Post. And you'll need 2/3 of a cup. These small black plastic cups that come with your mess kit are 1 cup of water or material. That will go into a small Loctite plastic bag that you mark hot grape nuts ingredients. Just go ahead and pour that right in there. And seal that off, squeezing out as much of the air as possible. Set that aside. You'll also need 1 ounce of dried cranberries, a 5-ounce can of evaporated milk, a small can, this is an 8.25 ounce can of Mandarin oranges. And the last ingredient that you'll need is sweet orange marmalade. You need 1 ounce of orange marmalade or 2 tablespoons. You can substitute the orange marmalade from a container like this with the 2 single-serve individual packages. I'm going to put the 2 tablespoons into this small vial so that it will all go into a single bag. And just put that right into there. And then you can do that again with a second vial so that all of your ingredients will be in the bag together. We'll add the 2nd tablespoon of orange marmalade to this container. And all the ingredients will go into a paper bag marked hot grape nuts with orange cranberry. And I'm just going to put these 2 containers in a small Ziploc bag to keep them from getting sticky all over everything. Seal this up. and you are ready to go.
Post Grape-Nuts can trace its roots back to granola. In 1863, Dr. James Caleb Jackson, a health reformer who believed illness was rooted in the stomach, began experimenting with cold cereal to augment the mineral spring treatments at a sanatorium in upstate New York. He baked graham flour into brittle cakes, which he then crumbled and baked again. It was not an immediate success. In fact, it was edible only when soaked in milk overnight. Even so, Jackson's Granola, as he called it, would soon have competition. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, of Kellogg's cereal fame, made a mixture called Granola, comprised of oatmeal, wheat flour, and cornmeal. After Jackson sued, the name of Kellogg's mixture was changed to Granola. By 1899, he was selling about 4 tons of granola a month. Granola fell off the map until the late 1960s, when Leighton Gentry came up with the recipe for modern granola. After he sold the rights to his granola recipe, granola became a large business. Heartland Natural Cereal, the first mass-market granola, came out in 1972. Since then, the granola-making industry has gotten bigger and bigger.
Good morning. This morning we're going to make hot grape nuts with cranberry and orange. The first thing we need to do is get out our ingredients. We of course have the grape nuts, the 2 containers of orange marmalade, the can of mandarin oranges, the evaporated milk, and dried cranberries. We'll fold the bag and we'll set it aside. We'll open up our mess kit. This morning we're using the small Techsport single with the plate, frying pan, which we won't need, so I'll just set that aside, lid, cup, and the pot.
Charles William Post was 31 when he suffered his first nervous breakdown. He ran a farm implements factory in Springfield, Illinois, where he grew up. He tried several business ventures, but none were successful. In 1891, suffering from depression, he checked into the local sanatorium. Dr. Kellogg, who ran the facility, stated, "There is no hope. The morose patient is bound to die." Post, however, saved himself by eating good, solid meals. The path to a strong heart and mind, he decided, starts in the stomach. Post began researching his ailments and determined the culprit was coffee. By 1895, he had developed a powdered grain-based beverage he named Postum, with a challenge to the coffee industry. The success of the health beverage allowed CW to create a cereal in 1897 to challenge Kellogg's granola. He called it Grape Nuts. Consisting of wheat and barley that had been baked into flat sheets, Post then ran these through a coffee grinder that turned them into small pebble-like granules or nuts. He then challenged Kellogg's flagship product, Corn Flakes, in 1906, which he marketed as Elijah's Manna. However, he was forced to change the name to Post Toasties when preachers scolded him for sacrilege. By 1914, Post was still dealing with stomach issues and believed it was his appendix. Doctors at the Mayo Clinic removed it, yet the man continued to suffer following the surgery. A short time afterwards, at his home in Santa Barbara, California, the health food pioneer committed suicide. His family blamed the same old heart-sick melancholia.
The other items that we'll need to make this are a can opener for the Mandarin oranges, a church key type can opener for the evaporated milk, a spoon for stirring everything, and a lighter to light the stove. We'll start by opening the Mandarin oranges, and we're going to put that liquid from the Mandarin oranges into our measuring cup because we need 1/3 of a cup of liquid for this recipe. We'll drain that liquid right into the cup. Now you need at least 1/3 of a cup of liquid. This is almost half, so we're going to set the Mandarin oranges aside. If you don't have enough liquid from the Mandarin oranges, you can just add water to the liquid. But this is enough, so we're just going to pour that right into our pan, and we'll set the cup aside. The other thing we're going to add is the orange marmalade. So put both of those right into the mixture. And then we're just going to add in the box of dried cranberries. Mix all of those together. Place the box of cranberries aside.
I don't particularly like oatmeal. As a matter of fact, I don't like oats at all, which is a key ingredient in modern granola. But I do remember growing up occasionally eating grape nuts. I didn't know that they were supposed to be good for you until Euell Gibbons told me so in the 1970s commercials. Like most children of that time, my morning breakfast routine included cold cereal with milk. This was typically made up of small individual boxes put out by Kellogg's, but occasionally my mother would buy the Nutty Nuggets, which I ate with copious amounts of sugar. This was just when awareness of one's health relating to foods came back into vogue. Grape nuts, however, had always been part of a healthy lifestyle. When Marjorie Merriweather Post took over the company in 1914 at just 27 years old, she continued her father's legacy in creating healthy foods for families and pets. In 1929, Marjorie renamed the Postum Cereal Company to General Foods, not to be confused with General Mills. Grape nuts was part of international exploration, including Admiral Byrd's expedition to the Antarctica and the climbing of Mount Everest. Although the cereal had been around for over 60 years, it wasn't until Sheriff Andy Taylor and Barney Fife advertised them in Mayberry on the Andy Griffith Show that the cereal truly gained national recognition.
Grape nuts breakfast time.
Good. Crunchy little nuggets bursting with nut sweet flavor.
Well, first we got to exercise them.
Do we have to?
That's our agreement. We got to keep slim and trim. It helps to eat the right kind of foods like a Post Grape-Nuts breakfast.
Euell Gibbons became the spokesperson for grape nuts during the 70s. He had gained notoriety for several books he had authored about eating wild plants and vegetables, including one he'd titled Stalking the Wild Asparagus. Gibbons became synonymous with grape nuts, and his unusual ways led to people making fun, and he even spoofed himself.
That's why Post Grape-Nuts is part of my breakfast. Of course, I don't usually eat it in a bowl like this. Usually I eat it in my shoe. Sometimes I just eat the shoe. You ever eat a shoe?
Now we'll light the stove. and place that pan right on top. You'll want to cover the mixture so that it will heat quickly. And that'll take about 2 or 3 minutes. It doesn't need to be a very high heat, but you want those cranberries to become reconstituted, and you want to melt all of the orange marmalade. Just a very low heat. Give it a stir. Breaking up all the cranberries that may have stuck together. And just let that continue to heat through. In the meantime, while that's heating, go ahead and shake up the evaporated milk. This needs to be well shaken before using. And then you can go ahead and, using your church key, open the milk. Now once that's heated for a few moments, give it a stir, and you can see that those dried cranberries have started to reconstitute. Add in the mandarin oranges. Just go ahead and pour those right in. And stir those in as well. You're going to let this mixture heat completely through before adding the grape nuts in the evaporated milk.
Many people think of cranberries only during a single annual American holiday. However, cranberries have been used by Native Americans for thousands of years. The tart little berry is loaded with antioxidants, and people have used it as a food, medicine, and in ceremonies. The Northeast has a thriving cranberry industry, and many people think of a particular company with a wave for its logo when they consider cranberries. As a matter of fact, the juice of a cranberry is so iconic of New England. When mixed with vodka, the cocktail is called a Cape Codder. The Cranberry Institute of Carver, Massachusetts states, "The majority of cranberries are harvested between September and October and occurs in one of two ways. By far the most common is wet or water harvest. The beds are flooded and the fruit is beaten off the vine using a special harvester. The floating fruit is then corralled and loaded onto trucks for delivery to a receiving station. Most wet harvested fruit is used for processed cranberry products like juice and sauce. Dry harvested fruit is combed from the vines using a mechanized picking machine. No water is involved in this process. The fruit is loaded into bins and shipped to receiving stations where it is cleaned and packaged as fresh fruit." Scientific research is revealing how healthful cranberries can be. Packed with naturally derived plant compounds, cranberries are a great choice for the health-conscious consumer. Cranberries are available in a wide variety of forms, including fresh fruit, juice, and dried. But by far my favorite is a gelled sauce from a can.
It doesn't take very long to heat. And now mix in the grape nuts. stirring them so they're completely covered. And then add the evaporated milk. You'll need to continuously stir this mixture while the milk heats, but don't let the milk boil. I turn the heat down just a tiny bit here so that milk doesn't boil, and just let it heat all the way through. While that heats, those grape nuts will start to absorb the liquid and soften, and you just want to gently caress it until the milk starts to get heated. And you can see it's beginning to bubble a little bit. Let's give it a try and see how warm it is. Well, that can use probably another minute. Be careful not to scorch the mixture. Once it is completely heated through, turn off the heat. Place your pot onto a pot holder, and then pour it into your dish for serving. And there you have hot grape nuts with cranberry orange. I'm going to enjoy my breakfast, and you be sure to clean up your mess.